Alright everyone, this is Eric, back with a vinyl tag edition, and quite frankly I wasn't going to do one of these because a bunch of those questions just I don't find all that interesting. It doesn't interest me to go back and explore some of that stuff, and I don't think it's going to interest you to look into my brain about what the first record about my own money and that kind of stuff. Hey, if you're into that, great, I love it. It's just not for me. So, without further ado, I'm going to start with this, which is a flyer for a local radio show that I was on back in the day, the Cathedral of Fuzz, which was a garage rock show that my buddy Kevin used to do back in the 90s. I know that Dead Wax 66 will probably dig this because this was local. And my brother and I were on the show a couple times. I got cassettes of our appearances. But hey, there's that. And the reason I'm showing that is because the first thing I'm going to talk about is my favorite piece of colored vinyl. And that was stuck in my favorite piece of colored vinyl. Somebody showed this recently. I want to say it was maybe George Wildheart. This is 1313 Mockingbird Lane. Have Hearse Will Travel. I bought this in San Francisco in 1997 when we took a family trip there. Some record store. I think I also bought the Dam's Friday the 13th EP. But it's on this beautiful green vinyl. The band actually just did a Kickstarter last year to reissue this. This is great, like 80s neo garage stuff. So if that's your scene, check this out and go check them out. They have a Facebook page. Great band. I do have some of their 7 inches that I'll probably show at some point. So the next thing is a discount album. So what I'm doing for the discount album is not an album I got cheaply, although I did, but an album that seemed like it was thrown out there as a discount to be cheap for people to check stuff out. And this is Country Gold. It's got Carl Smith, Johnny Cash, Tammy Wynette, Johnny Horton, Charlie Rich. So yeah, as you can see, it was $1. And I kind of love that cover. I was once at a record show in Sweden in 2002 where there was an awesome country comp that had a beautiful woman with a Colt 45 Peacemaker on the cover. And I don't think I bought that record. My brother might have, but this is as close as I could find to it. Okay, next up, Prized Possession. This is a band I'll be talking about on its own video at some point. But this is one of the great LA punk bands that people don't know and don't talk about. I would say they're probably second tier. And wow, I forgot there's a poster in here of the lead singer. And I just knocked over my list of questions. And this is, in Vinyl Richie, this one's for you, buddy, because if you don't know this band, and I'll be shocked if you don't. And sorry, everyone, I'm just dropping everything. This is Legal Weapons, Death of Innocent record. One of my favorite bands, one of my favorite unknown bands. Such a great band, such a great record. I've got about 3 of their albums on vinyl, including one that's pretty thrashed, but I love this stuff. So good. Check it out. All right, female artist. I could have done Legal Weapon because they have a female front person, lead singer. I'm going to go, though, with Jeannie C. Riley and Harper Valley PTA. Man, there's something about her in that mini skirt. But great song. Great, like 60s country pop and stuff. Definitely worth checking out. I think I got this for $1 at a record store in Minneapolis. I got a couple of her records. Good stuff. All right, favorite bands. Well, I have 2 favorite bands, and I've talked about both of them to a certain degree in the past. And one of them is the Forbidden Dimension. This is their Age of Golden Lasers LP on vinyl, and I'm not going to pull it out, but maybe I will. It's on kind of purplish, blood red wax. Whatever, these guys are friends of mine, which makes me super lucky. If you like bands that are small and obscure and you can become friends with them, and they're not dicks, that's awesome. The other one, of course, is Jet Blackberries. It's their Desperate Fires LP. This is their second record. This is maybe artistically their pinnacle. I really do like their first record and their last record. However, the last record had some production issues that were outside of their control. But this is a great record. If you see this in the discount bin, you see it for $2 or $3. Check it out if you like kind of alt country or outlaw country or Graham Parsons or any of that kind of stuff. And this was on Enigma Restless, Pink Dust Records, and mine's kind of hacked up in the back because stuff happens. I'll talk about them again in a minute. Impulse Buy. Soundtrack for Surf Nazis Must Die. This was something that somebody posted about on Facebook a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, I'll totally buy that, and I did. And it's just cool, kind of synthy 80s stuff. Yes, I am going through these pretty fast. A gift, speaking of Jet Blackberries. Jet Black Berries, Kid Alaska to My Love 7-inch. This was the single off of the Desperate Fires album. This was given to me by the bass player, who was one of the main singers and songwriters in the band. And he's a good friend of mine. My brother and I did put out a reissue of the earlier stuff. If you go back and watch my new math video, you can see that. This was his only copy. And, you know, that's super special. He's been a good friend for years. We visited off and on. He's come to my town. My brother and I have gone to his town several times to stay with him and visit. And great people, great band, deserve a lot better than they got. But hopefully people start rediscovering their stuff at some point. A rarity. So, one of the things that Jet Black Berries was a band called New Math, which I mentioned. They were on a label called Brain Eater. This is a rarity. This is Dolce Vita, which was another band on Brain Eater Limited. They were one of a handful of bands. I've not listened to this in probably 2 decades. But the reason it's a rarity and kind of note is the lead singer, this guy named David Quinn. If you're a comic book fan, you know the movie or the comic book Faust. He was the writer on that. He used to live one town over, and we actually had a meeting with him about putting on a spoken word album on our record label that came to nothing. But he was super cool, super nice guy. And at that time, back in the 90s, I did secure a copy of their one and only album. All right. A rainy day record. Well, you can't get much better than this classic album. This is the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band with a whole bunch of guests. Will the Circle Be Unbroken? I mean, this is just so good. This is like classic country stuff. 3 LP set. You know, obviously I got this for $6.50 in Minneapolis at a store called Jaime's. I don't know if they're still around, but hey, if you're in Minneapolis, check it out. Great record. This is what like country roots rock is. All right, feel good record. So you can't feel much better than Power Pop, and you can't get much better than Cheap Trick. This is Heaven Tonight. This is the album's got Surrender on it, but it's got California Man, Auf Wiedersehen, Heaven Tonight. Great stuff, great band. One of my early discoveries from their hair metal era that led me to the great Power Pop stuff. Still a great band, worth seeking out their stuff. It's not all great, but it's not all awful either. Okay, nostalgia record. I mentioned having a record label. Well, my brother and I ran a record label for 5 years. Started off as a horror punk record label, kind of morphed into a high energy rock and roll thing. But this is the first record we ever put out. This is a 7-inch by a local band, Mazinga. This got not great reviews. Fuck them. Iggy fronting the Misfits with Dick Dale on guitar. That's about as close as I'm going to come to describing them. Ann Arbor rock and roll. Yeah, great stuff. Personal favorite. Obviously very nostalgic for a time in my life. This was the full color cover that we did. There was a comic book originally. I don't know where my copy of the comic book went that I wrote. Blah, blah, blah. Reanimator Records. There's nonsense about it on the web if you want to check that out. Alrighty. Record store day. Well, I don't go to record store day because typically in my life I work Saturdays. But I do have a friend who runs a record store, and I've got a couple of things. Southern Culture on the Skid 7-inch, and Lydia Lovelace doing a Prince cover 7-inch. All right, recent purchase. Kepi Ghoulie and the Accelerators, Fun in the Dark. This is a recording of the Groovy Ghoulies album, Fun in the Dark, from the late 90s. Great, like cartoony horror power punk stuff. Always been a big Kepi fan, met him several times, always a true gentleman, great guy, puts on an amazing show. He also does some country stuff, so he did an album called Kepi Goes Country, so if you're into that, check that out. He also did a band called The Haints, which was basically acoustic versions of their rock and roll punk stuff. So all you guys like Steve and Billy and all of you guys, give this guy a listen, check out his stuff. You might like it, you might not, but hey, anybody out there that's got kids, you're looking for fun pop punk to play them that's not going to annoy you to death, Groovy Ghoulies or Kepi Ghoulie, a lot of that stuff fits the bill. All right, so now I'm going off topic of what people have in their vinyl tag, and I'm going to talk about, let's see, what have I got here? Something should be better known. This is the Ultra Bimbos from Finland, one of my favorite bands of the late 90s, 2000s. Power pop band on Stupido Records. This is very I don't even know what to describe it. If you like the Donnas, check them out. If you like that kind of sound, to me, they're like a little more garagey, a little more high energy rock and roll. At some point, I'm going to be talking all about the Scandinavian high energy rock and roll stuff that I got involved with in that time period. And the Ultra Bimbos probably were one of the best bands of that scene. Also, once again, I've met several of them. Super nice people. So check out their music. And all you Elvis fans, I think you probably get the reference. All right, something that's inspired by VC member, something somebody's shown. Deadwax66 just showed this record, and I've been intending to show the 3D Invisibles. I was actually going to show them with that 1313 Mockingbird Lane, but there's the Jump Off the Screen LP. Here's their Love on Mars Monster Island 7-inch. Here's their They Won't Stay Dead LP. And everyone's going to have fun looking at me doing this stupid list. I should have set this up better. And this is their Vampires A Go-Go. Just fun vampire, horror punk, rock and roll stuff, garagey rock. Check them out. Once again, if you like the Groovy Ghoulies or they don't work for you, this might. Okay. So I'm going to break with the LPs here, and I'm going to show something that I want on LP really badly. And I show it the right way. Screaming Trees Dust. One of my favorite grunge albums. To me, this is the requiem for the Seattle scene. It is kind of alt-rock, kind of country rockish, a little bit of alt-country stuff in there. This is Mark Lanigan and the guys basically summing up what had happened over the last 5 years. And it's a great album. And somebody please put out a good LP of it. One of the things I'm going to say about LPs from the 90s like this, unless you were in Europe or a radio promo person, you didn't see LP versions of a lot of this stuff because it wasn't selling and they weren't pressing them. So that's why you're not seeing a lot of Alice in Chains or Pearl Jam or Nirvana. That stuff's getting reissued. And there's some of that floating around, like Pearl Jam and Nirvana were able to get their stuff out on LP. But, you know, Screaming Trees, not so much, even though they were an amazing band. And yes, I do have some of their early stuff on LP, and I need to get more of it. Okay, jazz record. Not a huge jazz guy, but I do like big band music, so The Essential Gene Krupa. A compilation. I might have shown this one before. I've mentioned cowpunk and alt country a lot. This is the Don't Shoot compilation. It's got Danny and Dusty, Top Jimmy and the Rhythm Pigs, John Doe, The Divine Horsemen. Lots of great stuff, mainly West Coast stuff. This is a scene that I think is very underserved, that more people should check out. You know, it wasn't just the cowpunks like John Doe and the Divine Horsemen. It was also Dwight Yoakam that was playing in this scene. All right, we're almost done here. I swear to you. A live album. Townes Van Zandt, live at the Old Quarter, Houston, Texas. Now, if you're going to get into Townes at all, this is the record to do it. Recommended this to a friend of mine that said, really, I want to check out this guy's music and I want a live album. I'm like, yes. Great album. Folk, country, outlaw stuff. Yeah, if you don't know Townes, there's a great documentary about him. Check it out. And finally, something that is just a random pick. Somebody showed this. I want to say it was either Vinyl Richie or it was Deadwax. Or it showed something by this guy. And I figured I'd show mine. Simon Stokes and the Black Whip. Yeah, that's a controversial cover. Kind of like 70s biker rock with a psych edge. So, some great stuff out there. Check it out. Vinyl tag done. This is Eric. I'll catch you all later.